Hi, my name is Tony Hartsfield, and I have my colleagues Dietmar and Carl who are going to introduce themselves a little bit later. But we are consultants with Valiantus, and part of our job responsibilities includes training. We train a boot camp about once a month for both clients and for public classes. And so we're spinning up new Jira instances almost on a weekly basis. And as we do so, we discover new features or features that we've overlooked in the past, or we also learn from Atlassian's updates on things about new features to be paying attention to. And so we thought we'd combine a couple of those today and share them with you. I'm going to be an end user, and so let me share my screen. And so mine is for anyone in your instance, in your Jira Cloud instance. And that is, I have gone to the filters search and have created a search and saved it. And one of a neat feature that I've known about it for a while, but I've really never played with it. And it's not very obvious where it's located. But once you've created a search and you have it saved, under the export button, see, it's not even visible to get all the way down to the bottom, is the ability to take this filter and create a dashboard gadget. So I will click that. There are suggested uh, gadgets that you can use for your dashboard. I'm going to choose just a pie chart. You get the ability to configure as you want to. Maybe I'll do this by project, since this is looking at multiple projects and issues that are in progress. And then I'll save that. So there is all the projects that my teams are working on. And then which dashboard do I want to put it in? And then it takes me to my dashboard. And there is my filter converted to a dashboard gadget, just like that. So it's a trick that any user can use in your instance, um, which I think is pretty cool. Dietmar has a little bit more interesting development that he's discovered.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate your sharing this. Yeah, it's really exciting to be part of Valiantis. Our role is to always look into new developments in the Atlassian ecosystem. And as Tony said, as we regularly teach boot camps for Jira Service Management, for Confluence every month, which, by the way, we really recommend if you're interested in learning with us, we always discover new aspects about the software. So I'm going to screen share my screen here, and I wanted to point out something that I found really, really encouraging and actually really good news in the most recent Atlassian release notes. We always look at what Atlassian brings out, what they release, and there are constantly updates. And I always look at what do they actually produce for us. So really good news is that as of late February, Atlassian is now rolling out new data residency in 6 new global regions. Now, let me talk a little bit why this is really important for me. In my previous career, I managed a pretty sizable IT project management office in Canada in the public sector. And in Canada, we were not allowed in the public sector to store any data outside of Canada that is considered to be personal identifiable information. So if we had an application that had to be stored, or where data had to be stored outside of Canada, that application immediately became not a choice for us anymore, because our data residency requirements required us for that data to be stored in Canada. So with Atlassian now providing 6 new regions globally where you can store your data, they are in the UK, in Japan, India, Brazil, South Korea, Switzerland. Atlassian really invests heavily into data residency options for you globally. So if you have if you're currently in data center, if you're storing or if you're running Jira in your own environment that you manage, and to date you had a limitation due to PII data because it wasn't available in cloud in your region. The good news here is that you can now consider cloud because Atlassian constantly invests in setting up new data centers regionally across the world. Data residency, protecting that PII data is obviously of the utmost importance. There's a link here, discover more about data residency and how Atlassian manages that. That's the link that you can find here on the release notes. You just click on discover more about data residency, and it tells you everything that Atlassian does with respect to data residency in the cloud, safeguarding that data, which obviously is of the utmost importance. So I found this really encouraging, really good news that there are a lot of additional options now with respect to data residency. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Carl. Carl is also teaching Jira bootcamps with Tony and me. And Carl is doing a lot of work in cloud migrations, and he found really cool new things related to cloud migrations, and he's going to cover that in the next step. So over to you, Carl.
Hey everyone. So I'm Carl Heschen, another consultant with Valiantis. And so what I'm going to be showing you is the new interface for performing a cloud-to-cloud migration. The old way was you would download a backup file and import it into the site, but there is a new interface that's pretty similar to the Cloud Migration Assistant for going from server to cloud, but now it exists in a similar fashion, similar design, also for cloud to cloud. So I'm going to take you through just how to set up what they call a data copy plan, and then get through some of the pre-flight checks, and then start a cloud to cloud migration. So what I've got here is my test site with purposefully chosen really ugly banner colors, so I always know I'm here, so I'm not doing test things in other ones. And then I've got the March bootcamp that we just recently concluded. So I've decided for this example, I'm going to create a data copy plan from my test site into March bootcamp so that all of these projects in my test site will land in the March bootcamp instance. To get there, what I have to do is first be an org admin in both sites in order to be able to have the rights to select these locations. And there's some specific vocabulary for the source you're migrating from is referred to as the source site, and then the site that you are migrating data to is called the target site. So just so you have those two things loaded in before we get to those words. Excuse me. To find the interface, I always first click on my admin cog on the top right, and then I go to billing, even though I'm not going to end up on billing. I just get there by clicking on billing first, and then I go to the settings at the top here, and I can confirm that I'm on the settings for the correct site here on this drop down. So it's easy to, if you are in multiple cloud organizations, it's very easy to forget which site that you're on. So this is just a quick way to confirm, yes, that I'm going to be making a data copy plan from this site to another site. And so where I go to, now that I'm on my Carl test site, I'm going to go to data management, and then it is start copying product data. So this is performing a cloud-to-cloud migration. You're copying the data from one cloud site to another. I did a test one just to see if this would work. There is going to be one pre-flight failure, so you'll get to see what goes wrong and how to fix it. And so I'm going to create a copy plan, and it gives me all the steps that I'm about to do. Gives you that summary every time. I have to pick a product. You can only do one at a time, so I'm going to pick Jira. You have to have a separate copy plan per product. And so the source site is going to be this one. I'm moving projects from Carl test site to, then you've got your whole list. You need to really make sure you know which one you're going to the March bootcamp. And I'm going to give this a name, Carl's test to Jira site to March bootcamp. Jira. The name is good. Now, One mistake to possibly make right away is you might think when selecting your projects that checking this box at the top will select all of them for the entire list. That is not how that works. If you have a lot of projects in your site that you're copying from one site to another, yes, you can check that box at the top, but then you need to hit next and hit that box again, however many times you need to until you actually select them all. So just beware on that one. Then you have some options for after you pick your projects, what do you want to do with users and groups? Do you want to just copy them? I usually pick copy everyone, even inactive people. If you need to ask someone, a client you're performing a migration for, usually they'll just say copy everyone and we'll figure it out when we land. And then I usually pick this option to say merge the groups together. That's another conversation to have, but this is what is the most common option that I end up picking, because otherwise you're going to end up having a lot of different groups and then having to figure out a pretty messy situation afterwards. So just merge them. And then what this does is some pre-flight checks. We've got some data that's validating right now, but it says that most things are ready. This is going to take probably one more minute for it to say that there are a few problems. One is that there are some apps on my source site that don't exist on the March Bootcamp site, and that's fine. I don't need to install those. I don't care about bringing that data over. But then there is an actual red one that I do have to fix. And it's saying there are some duplicate projects. So I'm just going to tell you the answer. You can download the CSV file, and then it has some formatting, and it says to me there are two projects that are called sample Kanban project. Sorry, sample Scrum project is the problem. So here in my test site, here's sample Scrum. In the March Bootcamp, there's also sample Scrum. So the fix then would be I need to, on my source site, change the project key of sample Scrum project so it's something else, anything else that doesn't already exist over on the target site, and then it would move. For the sake of expediency, though, since I know there's just one project and I don't care about it, I'm going to just gonna hit remove. It's not delete from the entire instance, it's just removing from the copy plan. So now the one critical fix being done, it's going to revalidate, and then it's going to say, yes, we're ready to move. And then I can start copying. And it gives me an estimate. See, it's now saying that I can do it. I've got 5 projects that I can move, and I can hit copy. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It does give an estimation. I've done this enough times where I've learned not to trust this, but at least you have some information to start with. And now that you can see that it's happening, you can click into it and just see the projects updating and copying as they go. So that is how you
That's
do
great.
a cloud-to-cloud migration in the new interface, assuming everything works pretty quickly. But then it's very good about giving you what errors you need to fix, which ones you can ignore, which ones you have to do, and then you can go from there. So thank you. That's it.
So we've
Fantastic.
been showing you something from the day-to-day use of Jira to hopefully the one-time only use, and then even where your data is stored, your data residency. We're seeing new things all the time. You're seeing new on Carl's screen right there. And so we'll have more things to share in the future. But for now, thanks for joining us. We're from Valiantus, and we'd be happy to help you with your Atlassian cloud environment. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.